In this drawing, we have a couple of intersections. One, this intersection, that intersection right there, being driven dynamically from this major intersection over here. Just to make this real quick, have everything all hooked up, we'll just create and toss assemblies in, grab that corridor that we just made, go to the parameters and turn off the stuff out in the street, rebuild it, say okay, and I've made a driveway approach where I could now change the assemblies that were out in the street to do a repave or a cleanup out in the main road that I have. This in fact would produce in this other drawing exactly the same geometry, produces surface. We can see the slope control. All I've really done is change code set styles, applied to the corridor, and the surface model. Let's take a look at that up in 3D space. So here's the generated surface, typical approach, driveway entrance, all solved and driven dynamically off the intersection down the way. What we actually did here in this intersection, you'll notice a couple of interesting things. The south to north road has no vertical control at all at this point. So I am basically using it as a dummy to create the geometry. I created the primary road offset, a primary road left, and here you can see it's actually styled that way, and right, and it's actually styled that way. And then a second dynamic offset on the left side, set up arbitrarily a couple of feet from what would normally be the edge of traveled way. This allowed me to go into the properties of the intersection, go into edit offsets. I just created another offset at 28 feet, made the intersection driven by that, then hopped over into lane slopes and said no, generated another automatic slope-driven profile from my main alignments profile, the west-east one. Then I brought those profiles into the drawing. Those are going to be important when we do the intersection. They pretty much must exist because when you do the lane slopes, the way the wizard is constructed presently, it requires either it's dynamically connected to the offset alignment or it's visible in the drawing for you to select what profile you want to apply. Over in the secondary, it's obviously driven off that baseline offset. I simply establish the horizontal control by using the SO command off the main alignment, saying my alignment starts here and goes some random distance back. My slopes are driven from that point of interconnection and a standard slope back away from the main roadway. So that was easy enough to do. So I simply, when asked for what the profile looks like, first time around I just slapped in some tangent, didn't care what the elevations were, and then edited them. And if we look at the profile geometry in the editor, you'll see I just matched that elevation value and then picked an arbitrary grade out. In this case, obviously I could do anything else I wanted in terms of my profile. So that stuff pretty much needs to be in my drawing. And then chose from my offset left, that left alignment, and the center line. Now, why would I want to do that? Well, I only want to do half the road. I don't want to affect anything across the road by the corridor that I produce. And then I just picked a couple of standard offsets, generated the automatic profiles, said no the first time through. Now I say yes and make sure when I come back each time I say yes. In here, I generated real simple curve returns for both sides of the intersection. Then in lane slopes, as you can see, I said yes, and now here's where I would have had to pick that real left center line, which is off the main road, not my dynamic offset that I did earlier. Once again, I had to pick my center line to establish the other side. I said no the first time and generated the two profiles for the slope controlled offsets off here, generated the curve return profiles, did a couple of things, made sure my joining tangents did not extend in this case, just optionally, just to keep the space and keep things simple for now. I could turn them back on later if I need to, but right now that's what I did. We already saw we recreated the corridor regions and generated the intersection in next to no time, which is now pretty much driven from that offset that was created off this other intersection. If I wanted to do it off curb returns, that's really, I could have driven that driveway off this curb return alignment and profile. I would have, however, had to disconnect them from the intersection and not make them dynamic anymore. So we can actually produce another intersection. Let's simply get rid of the corridor just to keep things a little bit simple. There's the corridor I built. I don't need that anymore. I'm just going to delete it.